All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Board of Advisors podcast. And today we have another Board of Advisor member, Reggie Baxter from CenterState Development Group. We're going to dive into some really cool stuff. Here's going to be the challenge today. We didn't save the best for last in this case. We saved the best for today, and that's you, buddy. I've never met anybody that understands the art of the deal, the development of a relationship, and how to make absolute gobs of money legitimate. I mean, like, you're really running a great operation. You built a great team. There's a lot to learn from what you've been able to achieve over the years. And I think I want to do that for the listeners today. And I also want to show, so this part of this will not be for everybody unless they're really listening, but it will be for a select few that I think that we can actually begin to strike a relationship with, build some rapport, and maybe even joint venture with. And I think that's what I'm really curious. How can we get that in front of those individuals? And I have an idea. We're going to go there. So let's start here. Reggie.
Yes, sir.
You're in development.
Yeah, I am. Yep.
What does that even mean?
Well, it means that I stay in my lane and I develop subdivisions for the national builders. We stay in the workforce housing development business.
Workforce housing development.
Right. We stay in the market.
Okay.
The market is really huge there versus it.
Is that like blue collar?
That is blue collar. That's your nurses, your policemen, your firemen, the people working at the Walmart warehouse.
Yeah.
Those people. That's
so here's what I like to do. I want people to understand the value of the conversation that we're having today. So let's give them some numbers. Let's give them some understanding globally, like where you're at in the game. You know, when I called you to come out here today, not often are you going to break your Friday on the way to the Keys with somebody special to go do something special to stop in an office and hang out.
No, that's true because I don't get much time off in the first place.
Why did you trust me?
Because, we've been friends, what, like 5-6 years now?
Sure.
I've been to several of your events. I think there's a value asset there. I truly believe that what you do has helped a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for me, I've been running at 90 miles an hour to the 100 and haven't had time to spend with you, I think, to really benefit from.
Yeah, the meetings for you are tough for attendance, but days like this,
yes,
where it's highly targeted with a real peer.
Right, smart. I wouldn't say not necessarily smart, but they all are smart, but a smaller group of people that where you can focus in on how you can work and benefit both parties.
And for you, give me some of the volume. Like you've been in this how long?
Oh, I've been in it since 2001 when I started developing. I had a trade business doing 2,000 homes a year, and I seen the other folks developing those lots in front of those home builders, and I said, I can do that too.
How many lots do you think you've developed over the years?
Oh, Lord, we did 2,200 last year. I would say probably in the neighborhood of 10,000, something like that.
10,000?
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Nice.
Yeah.
What does that equate to in dollars?
A hell of a lot.
A hell of a lot of money, right?
Yeah. On a gross basis.
Yeah. And you know what I like about you is not only, because see, in real estate, the money's made where?
In real estate, the money's made in my opinion, two places. Where? Number one, you make your money when you buy the deal.
Yeah.
But never buy a deal if you don't know you're out.
Uh-huh.
Because liquidity is everything.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you got to ride markets up and down and have that liquidity to be able to get into the game. Mm-hmm. So if you buy land and don't know you're out, and you may and you're not buying a smart buy, you can get stuck and it costs you a lot of money.
Yeah. And then how would you describe the difference between being a developer and being in real estate?
Well, we build something. I mean, we're just not a broker that's getting in the middle of a transaction to make a fee. I mean, I have to put real capital, and then I have to do CDDs or find backup capital to fund the actual site work, build the amenities, the entry features, the landscaping, irrigation, and then start those takedowns with those national builders. So we don't make our money on the front end. A developer don't have a cash flow until that they're into the job where all expenses are paid, and now they're receiving those last lots which is their profits.
See, that's why I think you sit perfectly in between, let's call it the country boy and the pretty boy. I think you sit perfectly in between where you're able to, because you're one of them in the sense of you have your own ranch.
That's correct.
Since 2001, you grew up in that environment, working with every individual, as a developer, every individual involved, every party.
Absolutely.
And you get what each party is trying to accomplish, and you understand how to architect the development so that everybody's not only performing, but they're happy and they're ready to perform again.
Absolutely. I mean, the relationships is how you build the business. I mean, we have a saying around our office, it's just a relationship over a deal, because we want to do many deals, and we want to do repeats with each and every one of those site contractors and end users of the Lennars, the DRs, the Pultes, etc. So, yeah, you build your basis on your goodwill and the relationship of your honesty and transparency, and doing the job, keeping your boots on the ground and making sure things get done as they're supposed to.
You know, we've known each other now probably 4 or 5 years, introduced through another board of advisor member. Based on what you just said, relationships is where everything starts.
Absolutely.
And a relationship starts with a conversation. How do you qualify the conversations that you're having and the time that you're investing in those conversations?
How do I qualify?
Well, you can have a conversation with anybody. Today, tell me a little bit about the conversation you had with Brian.
Oh,
You met, you didn't know each other.
No, didn't.
You both traveled here on trusting me. He traveled across the country. You traveled across the state. Both of you, you had no idea who you were even meeting. I said it's worthy of your time. You walk in the door, you have about an hour and a half together. It was a compression zone, and that's exactly what you just did.
No, I will do a deal with that gentleman.
But what I want to know is, how did you qualify? Because you're in the hundreds of millions. How did you do that in 1.5 hours?
Let me see. Well, my side of it, I came up from actually digging the footers.
Correct.
Framing the houses.
Yeah.
So evolving to the next level is what has been a transition for me. He came up out of the New York and the hedge funds and the sophisticated money side of the game. You marry those two, we're dangerous. I mean, we can really make some things happen, because finding the money and the whole key to what we do is the land. Land is what you need to supply the machines of the national builders. Let's think about it, all right? How many homes were built last year in the United States? And how many are we still in deficit? There's 3.5 million across the nation still in deficit of housing, right? But yet, D.R. Horton built 80-something thousand homes last year. Hit his millionth home, had a big celebration. Lennar did 60-something thousand, and number 3 is Ryan Homes, which we do a lot of business with. I forget what they did, maybe 30,000 homes last year. But then there's so many more, Highland Homes of Clayton Properties, and then you've got Dream Finders, Holiday, and all these other builders. You put all that together, it's a massive market.
So that's a nice pair right there. You called it dangerous. Dangerous in the best of ways.
The best of ways, because if he can bring the money to get the land for me to entitle, engineer, permit, and build, we both win. Everybody wins.
Well, it expedites. You expedite the heavy lifting. He expedites the timing, the cash, the empowerment of getting any deal done.
We each do what we both do best. You know?
So great conversation today. I'm glad that worked out for you. I think that there'll be some nice wins down the line. Let's take this conversation, because you said land is everything. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's the fuel to the business.
Absolutely.
It's the fuel to the machine, is what you said.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Because without it, you can't develop subdivisions. You can't supply the houses for the demand.
Yeah. So I think I have the answer, but I want to see how you articulate this. I think you're a special individual sitting in a special role and a special seat in conversations with owners. I think you understand the owners better of the land than maybe anybody else out there. Tell me about the conversation with an owner of land that potentially wants to sell but doesn't really have any idea on what their options are, Let's go through what that might look like on first point of contact, right? How do you help an owner understand what they have and what is possible?
The first thing you need to do is find out what their needs are. Why are they looking to sell their property? Is it estate reasons? Is it because the orange industry is no longer a viable industry in the state of Florida? You know, with new things they're doing, there is some validity to some comeback in it with the big boys like King Ranch and Consolidated and others, but it's in a huge way. But to find out their needs is first, and try to do what is best by those landowners. If they don't need cash, then what is their needs? Is how can they benefit from getting their land into the market and taking advantage of the market and not letting the market pass them by? Well, and then increase on just the base of their land. So if their need is cash, then we find the money and we buy their land. If their need is just to want to be in the game and get an appreciated value to that land, accelerated from what they think it's worth per acre, they can put those into JVs with us and get a waterfall on the back end. And you can take, for example, if you have the $50,000 an acre piece of property, it'll turn it into an $86,000 piece of property on the back end per acre.
Here's the gold in what I heard you just say. You don't care what we do in the sense, you care what are their needs.
I do. I want the landowners to get absolutely the most. In some cases, it's been 2 or 3 generations that land's been in the family, and they've worked it, you know, with their sweat and their, you know, every bit of their being for generations to keep it, right? So now it's time that development has got to it, and it's time for them to get their money out of their land. The best way for them to do that is to do a JV
I like to call
program.
it the reward from
the
the
reward,
land.
yes, the reward of the land. But it's generationally. This is what their grandfather and their great-grandfather worked and hoped would happen one day, okay?
That's why they bought it.
Exactly.
And that's
why they worked it so hard.
Well, that's why they worked it, to preserve retention of it.
That is correct.
For this very moment.
That's right.
Which is why I think you're such a valuable relationship to owners.
Now, I don't want landowners to think that I'm there to take advantage of them. I'm not. I'm there to give them the absolute most return on their land.
I almost see it as the opposite, to protect them.
True enough.
And to architect a win based on needs, desire, preferences, because you are a special individual that can take the asset, the owner, and their preferences, needs, wants, desires, wife, whatever, and build the strategy around all of that so that we have the absolute best outcome.
That is correct. You know, with our team.
But is that more work than just somebody coming in and writing a check?
Yeah, but that person that comes in and writes that check, if that's that family's need, you know, if we don't have all the money to do that on a large 5,000 acre tract or a 3,000 acre tract or whatever it may be, we're going to find that money to come in and help those people get their needs. Yep. If there's someone that died in an accident, and there's a good example of that over in the Osceola, and the father died in an accident, there's 6 siblings, all right? The land's worth $200 million, all right? So they can't do a JV because all 6 of them want to take their money and go and do what they want to do with their lives.
Do you ever do a hybrid where some cash, some JV?
Well, yeah, we have, but not on that scale. You know, that's 1,700 acres. We've done it on a smaller scale where we would pay out one of the siblings and the other sibling had been successful in their own right, and they were willing to stay in and get that back in money.
Let me ask you this. The owner who's having these, I call them self-conversations. Right? Mm-hmm. They're talking to themselves, they're talking to their wife, I feel as if maybe even, passed away parents or grandparents, and they're almost thinking, what would they want me to do in this scenario that honors their family so they don't feel they made the wrong move with the asset that was really a family or legacy asset.
Yeah, and a lot of people carry a lot of weight on their shoulders with
guilt,
that.
Almost guilt.
You're
which
correct.
Is why they never make a move.
Exactly. But then what happens to them, okay? They lose the road concurrencies. They lose the utility concurrencies because they've let it happen all the way around them. And now they're sitting in the middle of that. and they cannot get the benefit of what that value of land was. It passed them by. So for me, you're honoring them by doing what is best for you at the time.
I was almost going to use that exact word.
Yeah.
You're helping them honor the asset, the family, and the responsibility that they may not have asked for, they just happen to hold, when many times there's a deer in the headlights stunning effect where they don't know what to do. An individual like yourself brings some calm, some wisdom, some almost as a partner.
Yeah, but let's not underestimate these people, these farmers, these ranchers, these people that's held these lands for generations. They're smart people. They just happen to be maybe a cowboy, or they've been raised in orange groves their whole lives, or whatever that case may be. They're still very smart people. They may not understand what I do, but they've done a hell of a job maintaining and holding on to that land for all these decades, right?
Which ain't easy.
Yeah, so
How many of these JV deals have you done?
We've got 6 on the table right now. We've done a couple prior to that. It's something I thought of when I seen the Nationals, the big boys coming in and buying huge chunks of land around us. How do we keep a runway out in front of us and keep our business in business, if you will? So I was sitting up one night with my girlfriend, Susie, and I said, I'm writing on a legal pad, and I said, I got to figure some way of keeping land. I said, we've got to get these people off the fence. Well, let's go back to 2 years ago. The 10-year treasury was 3%, right? And interest rates in the banks were paying you, 25 basis points, right?
Yeah,
on your savings account or money market. Well, at that time, what interest would a person that doesn't need the cash want to sell their land for? There's nowhere to put it, for them to get anything out of it. But in today's world, they're in the perfect storm because land prices haven't dropped. And there's actually a place to put it where they can get a return on that money. Mm-hmm. So it is a perfect storm for people that's been sitting on land for generationals to get off of the fence and move forward and do something with that land.
I just my mind goes to generically a banker. When you say the institutionals, or what word did you use?
The institutional buyers, the national buyers.
The national buyers. Yes. Every time you go talk to a banker, it's just they have this little box that they only have certain tools, certain things they can do, and it's just like nothing. It's not. You don't feel like you're winning. You just feel like you have an option to execute, and then you get somebody that understands. Let's say getting a great deal on a mortgage or structuring a great deal on a property, and then they show you or owner you get a real pro that understands all the parties, and you come out with a much more sophisticated and beneficial scenario. Where do you like to have these conversations with owners who are contemplating what might be best for them? Where do you like to do that? Just give me the physical location.
Well, let me give you an example.
No, I'm looking for something here.
Yeah, but let me give you an example. It just happened just this week.
Okay.
A gentleman in town, very successful in his own right, okay? He came to my office after us having a brief discussion. I ran into him at a restaurant for lunch. And he said, I want to come see you and talk about that JV program. Just so happens I had developed 2,000 lots in an area where he has 100 acres of uplands at 40 acres, 400 lots that we could do on that property. So long story short, we got into the conversation, and his business is the rental business. And he said, well, I'm really thinking about building, maybe 400 rentals on that property. And I said, okay, well, the question you need to ask yourself is, look at my performer. My performer says if your land goes in at $60,000 an acre for your uplands, you're going to end up with $146,000 an acre for that land on the back side. Once it's all done, sold out, and completed.
See, that's the part they don't get.
And I said to you, do you really want to build duplexes on $146,000 acre land?
I see.
Sold the deal. That sold the deal.
Yeah. That's when you bring the professional experience number. You bring something that you've been working since 2001 on this. They've been doing what they do. Now married together, it's better. Yes. Married together is better.
He takes that, and and there's tax strategies in that as well. Okay.
Well, see, that's the thing about you. You have created not just a transaction, you've created a granular opportunity to begin picking which ways you want to do the transaction, from a profit, joint venture, taxation, legacy, estate. I mean, that's one thing. If I were to stack you and anyone else in the realm, I think you have the ability to create more of a beneficial, per transaction, more benefits per transaction than anybody I've met.
Well, that's because I'm not just looking after CenterState Development Group and my team.
Well, yeah,
Of course, we want to make a living and we want to make a profit, but we also want to make that landowner tell the next landowner, that's the guy you want to deal with.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If landowner A, B, or C, 1, 2, or 3, XYZ is listening, and they want to talk to CenterState Development Group, right? I mean, you got to name your company something.
Right.
And you got a great group of people.
Yes, we do.
But if they want to talk to somebody, who are they going to talk to?
They're going to talk to me first.
Why you?
Because I'm the owner. I'm the face of the company.
Yeah.
But once I have an understanding of that person's needs or wants and what he has and how it fits into the box, then I will turn it over to the team.
Yeah.
Our engineering department and also our VP of
Where the
land.
experts execute.
Exactly. I do what I do, but I have
But
a lot
you
of smarter
actually
people around me.
you meet with the owner.
I do, yes, sir.
Where do you meet with them?
Well, I mean, on their property, at their residence, at my office, whatever it is the need.
So you'll get in your truck and you'll drive to their property.
Absolutely. I was in LaBelle the other day.
So you're Florida based, great state. What areas do you kind of cover or like or prefer?
Fort Myers to Ocala, down to 75 quarter, either east or west of that 75 quarter, all the way over to 95, Jacksonville to probably Vero. Mm-hmm. Maybe into Fort Pierce now. That area is coming on pretty strong now. And back into the Polk County area.
What is it that if let's just say there's one listener right now with a piece of land, generationally, feels responsible, they're sophisticated in the sense of they've hung onto that land and they're no dummy.
No.
But they are having these self conversations. How would you meet them in their mind? What would you tell them? Like, how would you encourage them or invite them to have a conversation with you?
I would very much say, come see me, or call me. I'll come see you.
Yeah.
But even if we don't do a deal, I think you're going to gain some knowledge of what to do and what's
Actually,
going to be best
that's
for
it.
you.
That's it. Forget the deal.
I don't care about it.
Actually, that's it. That's absolutely it. That's the point of the whole conversation. Forget the deal. If they're in those shoes, if they don't talk to you before they do anything, whether they do it with you or not, if they do talk to you, they're going to do a better deal wherever they do the deal because of that conversation with you and your experience that you will transfer to them.
It can't always be about the money, all right?
Yeah.
It's the way, fortunately, we make a great living at what we do,
Yeah.
okay? And I'll never deny that.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is, I would not be who I am without the mentors I had.
Yeah.
And the people that gave me their time.
Yeah.
And work with me. And I could count 10 very easily
Right.
that were big influences. One huge one, Mr. Bob Adams, but formerly of Highland Homes and sold his company to Berkshire Hathaway's Clayton Properties. But if I could help that landowner figure out what's best for them,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to involve me.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy the company. I get to meet them.
Yeah.
And people like when I met Ham Brown, God,
Yeah.
he's a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 86 years old, and I've never done a deal with him, but his nephew was at my house for dinner last night. And he's one of those 6 that own that land. What can I do to help? That's all I want to do. I want to do what I do for a living.
It goes back to the beginning of the conversation, or the beginning of the podcast. You just want to have conversations.
Yeah.
Where you can build some rapport, help some people make the right and best decision based on their preferences, needs, desires, pains, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we have work. I mean, it's not that we're out scraping the ground and trying to find another piece of land, but we're continuing to grow our company. And as long as I can do that and help people at the same time, and it goes back to our program that we do with the veterans, where we give away the disabled homes to disabled veterans. It's not about just you. It's about the team and what can the team be as a positive person in society. How do we do right by people? How do we do right by landowners? You know what I mean? And get people in homes that are affordable for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a tough thing.
Speaking
today.
of land, it was really, I loved coming out to your ranch.
Yeah.
What a beautiful piece of property. So organic, such a great, just stories. You know, the different units on the property. It was cool. We need to do that again. Let's get Brian out there too, continuing that conversation. Can we make a deal? I mean, you're a deal guy. We can't come to this table and not make a deal.
You tell me what you're offering.
And it's not an arm wrestling because I know you'll win. Those country boys, you got to be careful. No matter how old they get, they got that country boy cornbread tater fed strength, and you just can't see it coming.
We ain't got to go to the gym. We're out there in the pasture.
Sure, you're slinging it around all day. So I'm not going to arm wrestle you, but what I would say is, if you have on your next conversation with a landowner, I want to ride with you.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. We'll ride out there together.
I don't see no harm in that.
Yeah,
you know? So.
Well, I mean, I've done a lot of real estate, and I know. And here's the thing: I've sat at the living room table, dinner table, kitchen table, whatever. All my transactions were right across the table from the owner, doing exactly what you said.
Yeah.
What do you want?
You know, I guess in the big picture is that if you can help a landowner improve the returns on what their family worked so hard to keep, and it's time to move on with that land, then there's a great satisfaction in that and seeing them get more than what someone would just come in and try to bottom feed on.
Yeah. Let's do this. I want to give landowners that want to have that conversation in Florida, or anywhere really, because some might just want to have a conversation to.
Sure.
Yeah. So anywhere really, how do they reach out directly to you? Because like you said, you're the one.
Yeah, you can call me at any time on my cell phone at 863-287-9904. Now, not always will I answer that phone. I might be busy, but leave a message. I will call you back. Also, you can email me at Reggie, RAGGIE, at CenterState Development. That's DEV.com.
Reggie, say
Reggie,
that one more time.
Reggie at CenterState Development, DEV.com.
Got it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a perfect example of why you join Board of Advisors, why you listen to the members of Board of Advisors, and the value opportunity to transfer the experience of a gentleman who actually cares, who has not only experience, but has a system, a team. He is setting the example between the country boys, the pretty boys, and the transactions on what is best for everybody involved. You know, I call it doing the right thing.
It's got to be that way.
Because that doing the right thing never comes back to bite you in the ass, right?
No. Matter of fact, you mean 5 years later, you're celebrating the same thing.
Correct. And really what you're doing is you're putting these owners on your team. My biggest enjoyment is inviting people to BA, to get on platform, get on the calls, show up at the meetings, to meet people just like you. One strategic partner, service provider, landowner, any of those parties that want to sit across the table from you, that's what I want to bring to the table here. I want to make that connection. So boardofadvisors.com, CenterStateDev.com, Reggie at CenterStateDev.com.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Baxter, I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, everyone.